All right. Well, welcome to the first Navigators volunteer training session. The Navigators USA is a co-ed secular scouting organization that welcomes all children and adults, no matter what gender, what lifestyle, ability, religious or lack of religious belief, almost any age, though we recommend not starting before 7 years old. We do all the things that other scouting organizations do, but with a slightly different emphasis. Our emphasis is on the importance of getting along with people who may be different than ourselves. This is the most important task of the future generations on this planet, and that's why the Navigators considers this our #1 goal. And it's not an easy goal. And that's why getting the meeting right is critical to our success. The Navigator meeting is the core and foundation of the Navigator program. So to teach us about these meetings, we have 2 fabulous instructors who have a lot of experience with children and parents and the great outdoors.
So tonight's agenda is that we're going to basically walk through a meeting. We're going to introduce the beginning of a meeting, how to get everyone settled and get started. We're going to go over a contract, which we'll explain, and we're going to do 2 examples of target activities. Targets are obviously something really important in Navigators, target goals. We're going to give 2 different targets, and we're going to give you a few ideas of some activities that you can do to help meet those targets. We're going to talk about sort of like wrapping up the meeting, some free play, going over meal preparation, and jobs for the children. And that's going to actually be the end of the meeting. We'll do a closing activity for the meeting, and then now you've been walked through the meeting. The next part of the agenda will be talking about some behavior management strategies, a review of some good behavior management strategies that work. And if there's time, we'll talk about volunteer recruitment. And that's the agenda for tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to Taryn to get right into the meeting. And I have to...
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm your flipper.
So the first thing you want to do as the Navigators are coming into the room, maybe they'll all be dropped off at once, or maybe they will be entering in one at a time. Their parents will drop them off, or somebody else will drop them off from school. Whether they're being dropped off one at a time or all together, you want to have an entering in activity. It's just a brief 2-minute activity. If you have a chalkboard or a dry erase board, you can just put this on the dry erase board, or if you have a flip chart, you can put it on the flip chart. Just a brain teaser to get them seated, working on the brain teaser. Maybe they can work on it with a scrap sheet of paper you can hand them, or they can get together and try to come up with the answer. This really is an entering in activity that's just centering them and getting them ready for Navigators. It's just a 2-minute, 3-minute activity. If they don't get the answer to the brain teaser, you could give them the answer, or you could actually just leave it for next time, and maybe they'll have another chance. I actually recommend that you just let them try again at the next meeting and try to solve the brain teaser. So these are some examples of brain teasers. So this, so what it is, you just put some letters or part of a word on the board, and then they have to figure out what figure of speech this is. So in this case, this is Space Invaders. Space Invaders. There's a Space Invaders. This is pretty easy. Pretty easy, head over heels. So it's just an expression. This is a little bit more challenging. And in fact, I'm forgetting it. Oh no, it's elevator out of order. Elevator out of order. So these are a great way to just center and get everybody working to solve this problem together and to get ready for Navigators. We also have one Navigators leader who, instead of doing a brain teaser, he has a rope on all the tables ready for the kids to come in and make a knot. So that's an option, something that's already ready for them to do very quickly. So just 2 minutes to come in and enter in, an entering in activity. So where can you find these brain teasers? I Googled brain teasers. So that will connect you with some educational websites that have examples of word games, brain teasers. You could do a crossword puzzle, but you don't want to do anything that's too involved because it's really just a quick activity to get everyone centered and grounded before you start your meeting. After the entering in activity, the next thing you will do is pass out t-shirts. And that could be a job. Somebody's job could be to pass out t-shirts. So, and we recommend that you hold on to the t-shirts so that every week they'll get their t-shirt back, maybe write their name in the label of the t-shirt, and that's how they'll know that it's theirs. So then everyone's they put their t-shirt on after the entering in activity. So while they're working on the entering in activity, you can get the t-shirts out, or you can even be passing them around. So then, after you've given them their t-shirts and they've put on their t-shirts, then it will be time to do the moral compass, to say the moral compass together. And so the moral compass is written on the back of the t-shirt, so you'll just ask one of the navigators to turn around and another one of the navigators to come up and lead everybody in reciting the moral compass together. So let's turn this way a little bit. And we're not going to do that right now, but it helps to have somebody point. And this person here is also one of the navigators. So you have a navigator leading everybody in the moral compass and a navigator showing everybody the moral compass on the back of the shirt. So everyone says the moral compass together. And then you move forward through the meeting. So far we've done the entering in activity, then pass out t-shirts and put on the t-shirts, and then everyone's ready to recite the moral compass.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is talk about contracts. Karen's going to talk a little bit about contracts, but one of the first things that you want to set up for the very first meeting is some sort of agreements that all the children in the group are going to agree, and that's something that we let them come up with. You would have a little bit of input as a leader, but you're going to let them come up with what their rules and agreements are. One person speaking at a time, respecting everybody's opinions, not interrupting people, not making rude comments, anything that's 5 or 6 quick rules that are going to be your contract for the remainder of the session. So you're going to talk a little bit about contracts.
I can talk about contracts.
And as far as the meeting goes, this is something that you do at the very first meeting in the beginning of the year, and that you would revisit every single time you have a meeting. This is part of the beginning of the meeting, you review it. So I'm going to move it over to Taryn.
Okay, so I do have a handout here that I'm going to hand to our navigators leaders who are in the room tonight, and then also we will get you at home or wherever you're watching this, we will also get you a copy of this Managing an Effective Navigator session. So at the bottom of this handout, we have some information about the contract. So the contract really should be agreements and focus the contract on how a navigator behaves. So that means framing this in a positive. So frame it in a positive. Instead of saying, don't talk while someone else is talking, you want to say, listen while others are talking. It's difficult to follow a direction of what not to do. It's much easier to follow the direction of what to do. So, the contract should be just 5 or 6 points, and they come up with the contract. You facilitate them coming up with the contract. So you can just start it. What do you guys want to do to have an effective navigator session or to have the most fun? How can we all have fun with each other? What if we have disagreements? What do we want to make sure we remember? So then when you come up with the contract, and they come up with the contract, and you're facilitating that and making sure that if you have something that you want to make sure they're covering, like respecting all people, you can help them to get there, right? So ask them, what if someone's not being nice? What would be a good part of our contract to address if someone's not being nice to somebody? Maybe we want to talk about respecting people. So that's just an example of how you could get them to come up with the contract. So everyone should come up with a contract, and each point on the contract should have one key word. So respect all people with your words. That's an example of a point on the contract. Respect all people with your words. The key word is respect. So later, if you're out camping or you're on a hike together, if somebody is not respecting somebody else with their words, all you have to do is remember that key word, and they remember the key word. For example, hey Johnny, remember, respect. I heard you not respecting, respect. And Johnny will remember the rule of the contract or the agreement in the contract because of that key word. Or maybe your contract point is walk with the group while going on field trips. Walk with the group while going on field trips instead of running, right? Instead of being really slow and lagging behind. You focus on the action and the behavior you do want, the outcome you want. So your key word for walk with the group while going on field trips is walk. So if someone's not walking with the group, you can just remind them. Johnny and Julie will be our navigators. Julie, remember, walk, walk. So that's the key word that connects back to the contract. Also, it's good to include some consequences for breaking one of the agreements in the contract, but never choose a consequence that you cannot live with. You always want to live with the consequence. So if the consequence is if you're not respecting people with your words and you do that 3 times in a navigator's meeting, then you have to sit out during the free time at the end of the meeting. But be prepared to follow through. And then when the parent comes and picks them up, so Julie did not follow the contract, did not respect the contract, did not respect people with her words today. And so she had to sit out during our free time. So follow up with the parent if someone has experienced a consequence. So after you come up with the contract and everything's phrased positively, then everyone signs their name because you all came up with it together, right? So everyone signs their name on the contract. And then each session, you'll read it out loud with the youth, with the navigators. And each navigator will take one of the points on the contract, one of the 5 or 6 points, and they'll take turns reading it out loud. And then I would suggest you could also do something fun like seal it at the end with all hands in. Okay, navigators, that's our contract to have a great meeting. Go navigators. So just a reminder. So you review the contract and then seal it with like a fun pact or something like that. Okay, but yeah. So, and then the other option of what you could do is the peaceable being. So that's what Lorraine will talk about.
This is sort of just an add-on as a way of introducing it, especially if your kids are a little younger. So I'm going to lay this out. And this is actually called the peaceable being. There's 2 options. One would be to simply have a child lay down on the piece of paper. You can use butcher paper, poster paper, and you would trace the child. That's the peaceable being. And then the kids would come up with their target words, the words that they want in the contract, and that would go inside of the being. The things that we don't want in the meeting, disrespect, some negative words, negative actions, they go on the outside. So it's just another way of illustrating. It makes the contract creation a little bit more of an activity. If the kids are a little bit older, another is to just trace hands, and then you have 5 fingers, and Taryn had suggested 5 pieces of the contract. That's actually a nice way you could do it, and have the hand, the 5 things, respectful, walking, whatever your 5 pieces of the contract are, they come up with it. I do recommend actually leaving this. If you can leave it at your meeting place, leave it at the meeting place. If you can post it up somewhere, it's illustrated, have it there, and then when you review it at the meeting, they can refer to it. Let's go over what's in our contract and do focus on the targets and hitting them. So that's just peaceable being or doing the high 5.
We'll also have a handout about how to do the peaceable being. So we're handing this out to you now. And to those of you who are watching us, we will also send out a copy of the peaceable being, how to do the peaceable being, out to you.